Hindu and from India, largely from Tibetan monasteries that have been established in exile. And now they're beginning to build other gompas and things in places where women can study up in the area of Wisconsin itself. There's one new gompa which had just started to be built. Actually, the money was just starting to be raised 5 years ago, which was when I first visited this area. And now it's a fully flourishing gompa with over 65 nuns. And they're all young. They're all under the ages of 19, with the exception of 4 teachers who have been imported from Grutek and Sydney in order to teach these young nuns. And they come from all over the Muslim area, including the upper area, which is restricted to foreign visitors, and therefore it's difficult to build gompas or other projects that would require foreign support in that area. But this gompa is just on the border between the unrestricted area and the restricted area, so it can serve women from both areas. And that seems to be a very positive development. There have also been funding, just in recent years, really in the last 2 or 3 years, for renovating some of the old gompas, ones that were both for monks and for nuns. And there's one very beautiful site called Titi, which is just above the border in the restricted area, and that will soon be the site of a renovation. It was a gompa, a gompa for nuns, which at one time housed over 108 nuns and has a very interesting documentary history as well. So the idea is to rebuild that and to open it for contemporary women. And although that may take some time, it's a very positive indication of the interest both of local people and also of supporters from elsewhere who want to make this happen. There are many other things I could say, but I think I'll leave it there, just having given you an overview. And I'd like to show you just a few slides, if that's okay. We've set it all up, and I'll just show about 5 or 6, just to give you an idea of what this area looks like, and some of the things that I've talked about.
Australia, Bhutan, Cambodia, still coming, Japan, Myanmar, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, and Thailand. So I would say each would get 15 minutes altogether, that is including the translation or the interpretation. So maybe 20 minutes each, but I would suggest one person would speak for 7 to 8 minutes, and towards the end, if we can have a session, at least a short session, a discussion session, it would be very useful, I guess. So let me start with Australia. Enid Adam from Australia.
Australia has 100,000 Buddhist women. Now, most of these Buddhist women are lay people. They belong to the various societies across the land. But in the 1990s, another movement is taking place. After 2 decades of dominance by men. This was a time of establishment of societies with resident monks, and they were building monasteries. So the position of women in the 1970s, 1980s was that lay women, they were very important, but they did not have leadership roles. But after the Second World War, after 1945, Buddhist women began to come to the fore as leaders. The first of these was Marie Bowes, and she lived in Sydney, and she was Australia's first woman solicitor. She was also a Buddhist. And she began to write about the Buddhist faith in articles and in books. Then in 1951 came Sister Dhammadina. She was an American-born nun, trained and resident in Sri Lanka. She came to Australia to teach the European Australians about Buddhism. But she had no support. There were no Buddhist societies to help. And she had very little money of her own to support. But nevertheless, this elderly nun lasted teaching in Australia for 11 months, and her impact was considerable. After her visit, her impact was felt in the formation of the first Buddhist society in Australia, the one in Sydney. In that association, Marie Bowes, the writer, became a founding member. And Natasha Jackson became the editor of the first Buddhist magazine in Australia, Meta. And through this magazine, the influence of Buddhist women became widespread. In 1957, Sister Dhammadina came to Australia again. But this time, no one knows why, but she received a visa with a stipulation that she was not to teach. So her influence at that stage was more visiting groups, which had resulted as a result of her visit the first time. In the 1970s, 1980s, men led the Buddhist movements in Australia. But in 1990, a new phase began, and women came well and truly to the fore. The first movement was that building of a huge temple south of Sydney, Nantien, and this has been run very successfully by nuns from Taiwan. It is the largest Buddhist complex in the southern hemisphere. And to this Mahayana center a large congregation came for a Buddhist conference. 20,000 delegates were housed there and accommodated with facilities. The influence of Nantian operates locally, Australia-wide, and the influence is felt worldwide as well. But these the enterprise is run totally by Beguines, who are doing a wonderful job. The arrival of 2 Tibetan masters from Nepal opened a new centre in Queensland, Chenrezig Institute, and that institution has a women's nunnery attached to it. The nuns there are notably, they do their study, which is of high quality, they meditate, but also they are very active socially. So that they operate a hospice. Now Australia's population is getting older and there's more need for hospice care for dying people. The hospice goes into people's homes, doesn't have a building of its own, and so far they have helped 500 people, mainly non-Buddhists. Another person who's been a leader in that has been Savannah Raziki, who was the first woman to become a Roshi in the Diamond Sangha in Hawaii. And she has operated women's groups. She's very much trying to make Buddhism women-friendly in Australia using women's talents. In Western Australia, where I live, the local Theravadan Buddhist monastery has been there for monks very successfully for nearly 20 years. But they've never managed to train a woman. Women try, they can't, and they find that they've been Australia. The abbot, Sister Vayama, has been appointed. She's living there temporarily in a caravan, but the centre is to be developed. The last Buddhist woman I will mention is Elizabeth Bell, who lives in Victoria. Not only in Buddhist societies, in the communities, is Buddhism being recognised, but also now by the Australian government. At the end of last year, Elizabeth Bell was given the Order of Australia, the highest order a woman can have for her services to Buddhism in Victoria. So you can see that women are now poised to play a very important and leading role in Australia in the forthcoming millennium. And I have every confidence that their contribution to the Australian Buddhist scene will be invaluable. Thank you.
We are very fortunate that we have a nun from Cambodia she's a 10% nun from Cambodia.
Ladies and gentlemen, we came from a very old country that is surrounded by Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand. In our country, Vietnam has a very long history. Unfortunately, as you know, the Khmer Rouge regime destroyed everything what has been done up until then. After the war, many of our women were widows, and those men who survived the war knew only how to fight, and most of pagodas and temples were destroyed. However, we women of Cambodia haven't abandoned our Buddhist roots and turned to the temples for support and help. We didn't find any Buddhist people there. Our donkeys were serving cleaning and cooking in pagodas. They were mainly uneducated women who found religious roots. Thereafter, the destruction of their families in 1997, after the war, we were constructed temples, pagodas were constructed. Many temples and pagodas were reconstructed. The Association of Nuns and Lay Women was established thanks to the Municipal Foundation Cambodia now is only serving, cleaning and cooking food for the monks.
Hai sama công đôi chi dương năng cô cả biến tam sang ha tới tam hai đi đọc bay hai đi trong sang một tam trong.
We have the provincial level about 13 provinces or municipalities and including 35 districts.
Hai bạn bài về sắc xa riêng và đọc na là sắc trai mai anh chui đọc sai đây sắc trai na là như bị bắt đọc trai chất nâng đau ở phương hạng xa trong tư xa.
After that, we have more opportunities for schooling, a little bit better health care now than before, and we are very happy about the change that has been taken place in Cambodia on the official level. But we are thankful for the people of Cambodia to recognize their potential and power.
Hai sự má công viên nhóm ban trầm mô ai được xa này làm vinh hai ban bọn chia sự thơ biến sự thơ này chạy đọc của ma riêng biến và công đô chi chui
Through publications, books related to Buddhism, meditation and healing, human rights, etc., a week monthly newsletter for free distribution.
miền bọn chiaประบัติlà bây chạy nông pi chạy một đòn chạy tới tam hai tới tam sẽ đó tới tam sẽ mà cung tại châu năm sẽ mà cung đôi chi dương nâng chạy tới
Letters for distribution into 13 provinces and 35 districts.
hay sẽ phơi mùi tiết đi trăng dạng há xe là tay của tông trai rồi từ thang lên sẽ trai dương đó làm phải ao biến mô tả nặng khiêm sẽ ba lại quên mọi sẽ trai dương này đấy ấp trẻ so ấp ao nói bữa kia bơ ghiền.
This book has to encourage women on women empowerment, not to discriminate from the men.
Hay sẽ má công viên đánh mang trong tay bài vẽ sắc xa mình riêng đó là dê nâng tạm sọc tạm phúm ở qua trên đàn thòng.
We provide some training courses at the provincial level for nuns in the grassroots level, especially the local committee, to get to know the raising awareness on women's rights.
Ai không răng ao giờ sẽ trai dương ta bay tha ao liên trên đăng bài ban phương chia pruความมีการเป็นต่อเลยที่ตามโดนใจในคราวไรโดนตอนใจนั้นอาบุญที่เขาดีบ้าง
We realize, looking from the Western women point of view, the change in my country might be a small one, but for us, it was a tremendous step forward. We are only beginning, supported, empowered, and encouraged by your sisters, and for that we say we are grateful.
Bây giờ nhóm có sẽ xây ngay Campuchia có sâu khai nó cũng đó là ông ca mô lý thị rạch bố tại ban chui ở một thông đó sẽ xây Campuchia ở viên sẽ xây phiếp ở viên ca trên đắng hai viên sâu khai nó cũng đó là ông sản bạc ông sản bạc
After the international conference Sakyadhita on Buddhist women, we are very proud of ourselves that we know not only the part of Asia that is Buddhist, but also around the world. That we met Buddhist women from different parts of the world. We were interested interested in attending the conferences in Thailand, Sri Lanka, and here in Nepal?
នៅទីបញ្ចប់នេះខ្ញុំសូមជូនពរដល់វិភពនេះអ្នកដូនជីទាំងអស់ហើយសូមថ្លែងអំណរគុណសូមបានក្តីសុខតាមសូមបានបំពេញនៅទីរកិច្ចនេះឲ្យបានស្ត្រីយើងពុកពោះឡើង
And we wish our distinguished ladies and gentlemen wish great successful, great success.
ចាសូមអរគុណ
Thank you.
Very much, Venerable Senon, and you kept to time, just exactly 15 minutes. Thank you very much. And I just want to make a little correction. There was a kind of it was all just a preposition. It made a big difference. What the interpreter meant was that before the formation of the Samakum Dorji, that is before the formation of the Dorji Association, Nuns Association in Cambodia, the nuns served as maids, cleaning and cooking for monks. But now, after the organization of the Dorji Association, they have been trained as counselors in conflict resolution, in family counseling, and teachers of children and women. Thank you. And now we are really very, very pleased to inform you that we will have the opportunity of listening to a Cambodian monk coming from Australia who will speak on Cambodian Buddhist women in Australia. Venerable Sovan Sri, and it will be interpreted by Venerable Sambot.
And I'd like to say thank you to everyone who joined us today.
សូមថ្លែងអំណរគុណដល់អង្គការសច្ចៈដែល
I would like to thank
ជាមួយ
I would like to thank
នៃប្រតិបត្តិគុណសាសនាក្នុងថ្ងៃ
I would like to thank the 4thSakyadhita 6th International Conference on the Buddhist Women to invite the Cambodian Buddhist women group from Australia to speak today.
ជាពិសេសអង្គប្រជុំបានផ្ដល់កិត្តិយសឲ្យកាន់តែចេញនៅវត្តអំពីទួលនីតិរបស់ស្ត្រីនៅក្នុងប្រទេសដែលមានការជាសមា
The conference gave us an opportunity to speak the role of the Buddhist women group, my Buddhist women group in Australia.
ព្រោះថាទីយើងខ្មែរស្ត្រីខ្មែរដែលនៅក្នុងប្រទេសដែលទីខ្លួនតាមសាងទីលំនៅក្នុងប្រទេសថ្មី
The Cambodian women have suffering along the line through the civil war in Cambodia in the last 20-25 years, and they escaped from their own country to live in the refugee camp and later on move to the other country around the world.
ហើយក្នុងឱកាសនេះខ្ញុំបណ្ដាបានជាដំណើរនៃការអ្នកខាងបានចូលជួយទីកិច្ចយុទ្ធសាស្ត្រ
I come here and speak on behalf of the Buddhist Society in Australia as well as the Buddhist Women Group in Australia.
តាមពិតស្រីខ្មែរអ្នកកាន់ប្រតិបត្តិការក្នុងប្រទេសអូស្ត្រាលីមានភារកិច្ចជួយឧបត្ថម្ភនិងជួយកសាងទីអារាមសម្រាប់ប្រសង់ការរៀនសូត្រតាមផ្លូវព្រះពុទ្ធសាសនា
The Cambodian women in Australia play an important role to support the Buddhist temple, the Buddhist monks, to learn more about the Buddhist philosophy and doctrine, and like to work as man, also work as man to support the need of their own family.
ការអប់រំសមាជិកគ្រួសារមានគោលប្តីជាដើមបើដើរតាមផ្លូវល្អតាមផ្លូវសុចរិតជៀសវាងនៅគ្រឿងញៀនទាំងឡាយ
According to the belief in Buddhism, the Cambodian women in Australia are trying their best up to their capacity to promote Buddhist guiding principles to educate their family member individually and community in order to match internationally need as part of their contribution to preserve peace in the world.
ជាពិសេសក្នុងឱកាសនេះខ្ញុំកណាសមាជិកត្រីឲ្យពុកអង្គការដែលជាអ្នកកាន់ពុទ្ធសាសនាផ្នែកស្រីភាពដែលបានប្រជុំក្នុងឱកាសថ្ងៃនេះ
I would like to say that I'm very happy to come today to join with the conference for the Buddhist women and to find the world, preserve the world, the peace to the world today.
ហើយជាពិសេសនេះជាលើកទី1ដែលពុទ្ធកសមាគមប្រចាំនៅក្នុងប្រទេសអូស្ត្រាលីបានចូលរួមប្រជុំក្នុងឱកាសនេះ
This is the first time that the Cambodian Buddhist Society in Australia come to join with this conference.
ហើយក៏សូមអរគុណដែរចំពោះគណៈកម្មការមានលោកជាដែលជាប្រធានអង្គប្រជុំក្នុងឱកាសនេះ
I would like to say thank you to the community and also to the organization and especially to the nun and the Bhikkhuni who organized this meeting, this conference.
ហើយក៏សូមអភ័យទោសដែរគឺថាគណៈប្រតិភូរបស់យើងខ្ញុំមិនអាចបាននៅចូលប្រជុំឲ្យបានគ្រប់ទាំង9ថ្ងៃទេ
I would like to apologize that we have no time to be able to attend this meeting to the end of the conference schedule.
ហើយនឹងសូមលាចំពោះអង្គប្រជុំក្នុងថ្ងៃនេះដែរជាខ្ញុំនឹងមានដំណើរឆ្ពោះទៅកាន់ពុទ្ធគយាក្នុងឱកាសថ្ងៃនេះ
And I would like to say goodbye to everyone and wish all the best to everybody who joined the conference today. And I will go straight to India and to Puthikaya. At the end, I would thank to the auspicious opportunity give us for expressing our view on the 6th International Conference Buddhist Women, and I would like to give some part of our speech is 3 or 4 pages for you, and I believe that we want to see in some media around and some newsletter or internet or something, maybe you put on over there. Thank you very much.
I think we have anybody from China here. Is Elise Devi Yu here? Would you like to come and speak
And the address
about the situation in China? Okay, then we can. Okay, you can come later. So would you like to then speak later?
It's on the 6th.
On the 6th. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. You are scheduled for the 6th So then the representative of China would be speaking on the 6th. You have to look out for that. Thank you. And then we go to Japan. I'd like to invite Reverend Myosei Midorikawa from Japan.
Hello, namaste. My name is Myosei Midorikawa. I am the nun of the 10th sect in Japan. Today, I would like to talk about nuns and Jite regime in Japan using Tendai as an example. Jite regime, by the way, refers to wives of temple priests. Before I begin though, perhaps it is best to give a quick overview of the history of Buddhism in Japan. The teaching of Shakyamuni, who was born here in Lumbini, were first officially transmitted to Japan in 538. They were passed on through the practice, conversion, and enlightenment of continental virtuous people. The teachings of Mahayana, which came from India through China and Korea to Japan, melded with the ingenious tradition of ancient Japan and with the teaching of Confucius. Buddhism truly began to flourish in 594 through the efforts to Prince Shotoku by 600 students, and scholar monks were sent to China to study. Prince Shotoku believed deeply in teachings of Buddhism and lectured on and translated the Shoman Sutra, the Vimalakirtina Desa Sutra, and the Lotus Sutra. The Shoman Sutra was seen as especially practical for women. During the early medieval period, emptiness, the middle view, Visnati Mahamata, Kegon, Tendai, and Shingon thought was developed. In the later medieval period, from about 1100 to 1300, various religions spread Buddhism among the general populace. The stage of Buddhism present in Japan today were, for the most part, developed by the 1600s. From its introduction to Japan over 1400 years ago, the land of the Java has survived the waves of history and continues to be transmitted today. Japanese Tendai is based on the Tendai Lotus teaching of Tendai tree. It was founded in 804 by Denyo Dashi Saicho. The perfect or complete teachings, then precept and esoteric teachings, which were all unified as the four teachings of Tendai. Later gave birth to many religious leaders and had a deep and lasting influence on Japanese culture. Today, there are 1,600 male and 1,500 female religious registered in the Tendai sect. Roughly one-third of the women are active as nuns. However, there are no special training center for nuns, nor is there an organizational support system for nuns. Tendai are spread out over the whole country and have little opportunity to make connections. Actually, when I researched the numbers of this talk, divided into 3 categories. Daughters of the temple, priest wives, and those from a lay background who leave home and take the precept as informed daughters of the temple. Today, with the exception of just a few temples, most Tendai temples are hereditary, with the son usually following his father into the legacy. Sons frequently take the precept when they are children. But in cases where there are no sons, or where the son decides not to take over the temple, a daughter will sometimes take precepts, undergo training to receive her license as a Dharma teacher at the state headquarters, and return to take over the temple. For example, a friend of mine who had graduated from college with a degree in Tendai studies, married, had children, and lived the life of a housewife. But one day, her father fell ill and could no longer manage the temple. She had no brother, so she took over the temple. Another person I know, who also had no brother, graduated from college with a degree in education and taught at a kindergarten. She married and raised a family. However, when her father fell ill, she was called upon to take over the temple. She is now a kindergarten teacher, and wife, a mother, and a nun. In both these cases, his husbands are laymen. Those families hope that their sons will take over their temples someday. There are also cases where a daughter will take over the temple without getting married. Whatever the case, none of these women feel that there is a life forced upon them the other day. They drop their talents to the forest and walk to see Dharma flourish. Finally, there are those whose lay husband opt to become priests, or those who marry the son of another temple and have them take over. I'll tell more about them next. Jidai Fujin and temple wives. Jidai Fujin are the wives of temple priests. Temple wives in Japan today play a critical role in supporting and managing temples and in helping the Dharma flourish. They manage the temple, handle temple finances, work as our secretary, read and interact with Krishna, play an active role in proselytizing, and see to the education of temple successors, with the exception of a few major temples. Most temples in Japan are run by just one family. Without the hard work of temple wives, their very existence would be different. However, the word was Jidai Fujin did not appear until after 1872, when the government repealed laws forbidding political marriage and the eating of meat by priests. Until then, only a few states had permitted political marriage. The Soto sect has a training temple for nuns, but as a rule, only those who have left home refugee entered the difficult training while mid-40s. After finishing her training, after finishing her training, she continued her duties as temple wife, but also helped to perform ceremonies, memorial services, and funerals. She also speaks to spread the Dharma by teaching. Buddhist hymns. There are also examples of temple wives who have become nuns when their husbands fell ill or passed away, or when their sons were too young to take over, or when they had no sons to take over the temple. Those from their background. I fall into this category. As I mentioned, the Tendai sect does not have a training center for nuns. Nuns from a lay background must find a teacher who does not have to be a nun. Take the precepts, undergo training, and earn their Dharma teacher license. Afterwards, they generally return to their teacher's temple. Some go home to deepen their knowledge of Buddhism by attending university or state college. Some open their own temples, and others are active in a variety of ways. For example, a famous author became a nun, and then the abbess of a temple. She continues to write and is active in spreading the Dharma. She also works to rebuild and preserve many old structures. Despite the existence of such people, there are still many practices not open to women and few temples for nuns. This is because Mount Hiei, the headquarters of the Tendai sect in Japan, was closed to women for centuries. Often, even if a woman decides to follow the Buddhism pathway today, she ends up working as an assistant to male priests. I work at a comparatively large temple in Tokyo area, where I am the only nun among priests. The temple is a tourist spot that attracts many visitors. It also has many Krishnas, and is a prayer temple that draws numerous faithful. My work consists of helping the abbot and other senior priests cleaning the temple grounds, performing ceremonies, and seeing after parishioners' needs. There are many ceremonies throughout the year, so I am always very busy. Many days my work continues after hours. I also study Buddhist hymns, chanting, and at a nearby Rinzai Zen temple, vegetarian cooking. I have given a number of examples of nuns in Japan. Their experience all vary. So is there something that they all have in common? First, clearly, there is not enough information on nuns. According to the Nihon Shoki, which was written in 720, when Buddhism was first introduced to Japan, nuns played an active role. Yet, information about them has been lost over time. Research continues to focus on the activities of male priests and monks. history of the struggle of nuns and Jite who walked to defend Dharma and their temples remain hidden in the shadows. In fact, if anything, it has been twisted and I'm sorry. Misunderstood over time. For those of us now walking the path, the history of those who went before is a treasure that can shine brightly and show us the way. It is important, then, that we study, understand, and defend it so as to be able to pass it on to the next generation. Today, many memories have no successors, and many overlook the function, where without to community. There are many temples now that, with that again of the abyss, if no successor is found, will be taken over by many temples. Today, the image of a nun's life is still a dark one. It is seen as a world close or from the rest of the world, a place where women have failed to. This is one reason why there are few successors. Finally, I believe that given what I have just said about the lack of information up to now, opportunities to go abroad and make contact within the Buddhist community and be among those who share similar thoughts represent one possibility for the future. Shakyamuni, born here, said that human happiness is up to the heart of each of us, especially in today's society where confusion seems to be daily. We must join together to clear our hearts and minds, return to the source, be better people, The current course is Sutra course. 50 years ago, most of the nuns belonged to the name Ban. But now, most of, not all, most of actually they belong to Raymond.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. That was really, so many questions from now we have from our representative from Myanmar, Dom Molini, who lives in Nepal.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good afternoon, famous historians and brothers. I'd like to speak today about the historical condition of nuns in Burma. I shall begin with a brief background of female renunciation and pre-modern Burma. Then I will describe the impact of colonial rule under the British on Burmese nuns. Finally, I would like to conclude with some remarks on the current social position of the nuns. It is clear from ancient records and inscriptional evidence that women have been involved in Burmese Buddhism. Since its beginning, records kept from the Chu dynasty, lasting from the 3rd century BCE to 8th century CE, illustrate women as an active force in the Sangha, document from Chinese time history in the 8th century CE. According to these sources, it was customary for both boys and girls to enter the monastic life at the age of 7. There, they would stay with robes and sheep heads till the age of 20, at which point they were to decide their disrobe or continues in the holy life. However, while women clearly play a part in monastic life, nowhere is the term bhikkhuni present in the description. Therefore, the exact social status of female renunciation was never made clear. We find later inscriptions dating from the Pagan dynasty between the 9th and 13th centuries. Tables listing the names of monks and nuns with equal respect. Again, the term of bhikkhuni is omitted, though several nuns have been given the title Sangha Devati. From this, we may preserve the nuns who were well respected in Burma. Though without the term bhikkhuni, applied, there is no way to be certain of their exact status. According to the chronicles, the bhikkhuni Sangha in Sri Lanka dissolved around the beginning of the Common Era. There exists, however, no mention of the bhikkhunis in Burmese history at all. To that end, while women were active in the sasana, bhikkhuni were never have existed in Burma as such. At the time of Ewa
And new term of the extreme applied to nuns, the Tidendo. Here introduced the record forms the period describes the delegation of 300 Tidendo along with several cross-legged elephants that have settled a conflict between warring studies, preventing the loss of countless lives. The invention of the Tidendo was the idea of a monk, which implies great faith in the abilities of women on the part of people. There is also evidence from later period that Tidendo were given responsibility for the education of the children of the royal family. It should be mentioned here that nuns' robes were made historical with one of two types of bride.